Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Creating a New World. I am your host, Bill Hunsaker, and I am a self leader, which means that I think, act, and decide for myself. And I am also a conscious being, which means I perceive reality and integrate it to create values. And one of those values is this show. And I'm also the state chair of the 12 Visions Party in New Jersey. Let me introduce my two co-hosts. First, we have Sage Katakura, who is also a self-leader
Thank you.
and is the secretary of the 12 Visions Party of New Jersey. Welcome, Sage.
Yeah, welcome, Bill. Thank you for inviting me. It's good to
Mhm.
be here.
And we also have Bob McCaffrey, who is first vice chair of the 12 Visions Party of New Jersey and also a self-leader. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Bill, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Give me just a moment. I'm not totally prepared, but very close to being prepared.
You're never fully prepared.
Nope. Okay. This show is about the 12 Visions world, a world of freedom, wealth, health, and peace. Author and entrepreneur Mark Hamilton thought about what a world without initiatory force would be. He chose to write the result in the form of 12 visions. Here they are. Vision 1, become the person you were meant to be. Vision 2, live the life you were meant to live. Vision 3, feel extraordinary. Vision 4, stop aging. Vision 5, get the job of your dreams. Vision 6, start the company you always wanted. Vision 7, embrace the lover of your fantasies. Vision 8, diet down to the body you've always envied. Vision 9, become a genius. Vision 10, surround yourself with geniuses. Vision 11, ride a prosperity wave that will make you a millionaire. Vision 12, enjoy nearly perfect physical and mental health. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it does not exist except as an idea. On this episode, we will look at Vision 5, get the job of your dreams. And I'll go ahead and start. And here we go. Imagine a world in which every working adult was, in essence, an energized entrepreneur building his or her own fortune. That was exactly what I saw in my fifth vision, and this is Mark Hamilton speaking here, into the third millennium. 100 million super entrepreneurs pouring endless energy and creativity into America alone, teaming up with super technologies and sending civilization into new wealth not measurable by today's standards. The American enterprise system underwent a definitive job revolution. In fact, jobs at all levels became entrepreneurial. Of course, entrepreneurs use their minds every day, day after day. With such growing, stimulated minds, 21st century working adults left behind their bicameral tendencies of automatically reacting to a set routine and surprised themselves as they grew more and more creative. Until, lo and behold, they themselves became super entrepreneurs and eventually geniuses of society, overflowing with exhilaration and pride and success. In time, they made the evolutionary leap into neothink. As you read my fifth vision and begin to believe that essentially every worker will become a creative entrepreneur in the 21st century, you will begin to ponder the might of 100 million entrepreneurs pouring their energy and creativity into society, uninhibited by regulations and catapulted by super technologies. You will readily believe my 10th vision, in which many millionaires many millions of geniuses took care of our every need, you will begin to grasp that the way to take care of us and make all the people wealthy, including the poor, is not through big government, but through freed geniuses of society. You will begin to realize that a national escalation of standards of living, called the millionaire phenomena, just may be believable after all. Instead, the power of 100 million entrepreneurs free to race ahead in America alone, the world to follow, will dwarf anything ever seen on our planet, including the computer information revolution. And that's the basic idea of the fifth vision.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just so exciting, Bill, and that's really why we're here. It's a piece of it, I think, because
absolutely,
it's so exciting. That's what we're all experiencing, and there's some limitations within ourselves and outside that the TVP is here to remove, really, to make it happen for everybody. And like Mark Hamilton writes, effortlessly, just by voting, casting your vote, your support for this organization that can do it, that can remove the things in place that keep this, I guess the difficulty there, or the challenge, or the situation that prevents that awesome vision from coming out, from happening.
Yes. Basically, once we get into the 12 visions of world, everyone will learn how to become the person they were meant to be, and then they will begin to live the life they were meant to live by basically expanding their creativity and creating values to trade with others, and basically becoming wealthy and helping everyone else become wealthy at the same time.
Exactly. Sure, and I've seen this as examples in our, today. There are, there are not as many, but there are examples of that with Steve Jobs and how he was creating values that are unheard of. The iPhones coming out and just taking the people's standard of living, having a smartphone, able to do all the things that, it's a mini computer in your pocket, and all the people flocking to it and just improving their lives from it. That's what we're talking about, and all of us becoming, whatever it is that floats your boat, getting, like he said, just a huge amount of creativity flowing.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Yes, and we're seeing this in the information age to a limited extent.
Right.
All over the internet, people are finding different ways to create values and share values, and to different ways to be able to do their creative efforts, including websites that allow people to do what is called crowdsourcing, where many people pledge money to help someone complete a creative project.
Yes. Whew.
And many other ways that just, and as we get to a world where the government isn't, basically trying to tell us how to do everything, we will reach a point where, everyone will just find more and more creative ways to express their deepest motivational root and create wonderful values that everyone will want.
I can't wait. That's it. Let's go.
Yep. And the thing about becoming an entrepreneur, which I'm personally just beginning to do, partly with this show and partly in other areas, and which you and Bob have been doing for quite a while, is that you directly see the result of your efforts, and you don't have to wait for someone else to say, okay, you did a good job, here's your reward. and you're in control of that. Go ahead.
No, and that process is like not so easy at first. But if this, what you were reading from Mark Hamilton, he's in a world, he's in that world of being a complete entrepreneur and a very experienced entrepreneur, and he's completely free. His mind is free, and he's creating values unlimited by most things. And he's writing this vision from that perspective. And us, like you said, Bill, my hat's off to you for creating this show. But like what we're doing, what we've been doing, Bob, yourself, me, Larry, we're doing that. We're kind of following our own vectors of creation, creating our own, blazing our own trails. Besides Mark Hamilton and many other people, and it's just once you get it going, it's so exhilarating. This is, and what you're talking about, the more people get into this and get this information, I think it's going to get easier and easier because you'll have a lot of people thinking in this way. And it'll be just like a kid watching, if he's around parents that have certain strengths, he tends to pick those up easier. And we'll have the same, that same dynamic happening. So this is it's the beginning of the beginning, but it's only going to get better as we get more in line with this awesome vision and understand it and just enjoy it and start to believe it and do it. It's going to snowball.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm sorry, Bob. Go ahead.
It's okay. I was just going to add in there. People have to realize that they can do it, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that don't believe in themselves, and they have to become aware that they have to start in little bits and pieces, okay, and start small and then work their way up. I mean, Steve Jobs didn't get to the level that he's at right now just by creating something and jumping into the pool. He worked at it for a long time, developing computers and software and then the hardware, and we're doing the same thing, but we're doing it little bits at a time. We're doing it through the clubhouses. Sage is doing it through his business that he's doing. You're doing it through the program that you're putting on now, and I'm doing it through the clubhouses and some of the other things, the limited liability company that I've created, which is now becoming an investment company. It takes time, and we're not going to become wealthy and millionaires overnight, but it will happen. I mean, we're well on our way at this point. And, other people just have to follow our example and take the little steps. And let's get out there and do it. And if you have any questions, come to any one of us. Come to anybody that you see as being somebody that you would like to follow. Just get out there and question him and learn from him. And let him help you progress along the road to get where you want to be.
Thank you, Bob. What I was going to add was also that even now we have the Neothink Society, which is helping people learn how to be the person they were meant to be, helping them find their deepest motivational root, that one thing that they love to do, and then helping them find a way to turn that into an entrepreneurial business that will help them succeed and prosper now. But in the future, in the 12 Visions world, everyone will have that opportunity, and there will be people whose deepest motivational root will be helping other people find theirs. Right. And we have them now, but there'll be even more. And so in that world, everyone will be helped, and everyone will find their deep motivational root, and they will live the life they were meant to live and have the job of their dreams, the job that they have control over, the job that they profit directly from, and the job that will make them wealthy and excuse me, and also happy because they'll be doing what they love.
Yeah, and once people start doing what they enjoy doing, what they're going to find out that it's no longer a task doing that job. If you're working at something that you totally enjoy doing, the time just seems to go away, and it seems like you start on something and you seem like you're working on it an hour or two, and before you know it, you work on it 8, 9, 10 hours and you're starting to get exhausted, but you're just starting to get exhausted, and the day is totally gone almost.
Yeah.
And you know, it just becomes effortless once you're doing something you enjoy.
That's so, you know, for anybody who looks at this, and like you said, Bob, there's so many people who don't believe they can do it. You remember us years ago. We've been meeting on a regular basis now for years, and I've seen our growth, every one of us, and it's we're getting over those. We're in the zone doing it. It's once you find that motivational route, you can do it. That's the secret. And ask yourself, with this vision and also what Bob was talking about and Bill about the tools, do you like what you're doing now? Is that out stimulating the possibility of doing what you love to do all day, every day, making profit doing it? That's why it's going to work, is because now with technology and supportive people like all you guys coming out more and more, because they're experiencing the great results and the process of just being happy. It's coming, you know, and it's just so exciting because we're just trying to speed it up, but it's coming with technology and everything. But I see it through so many aspects besides us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I mean, so to kind of sum things up, finding the job of your dreams is really the culmination of becoming the person you were meant to be and living the life you were meant to live and feeling the exhilaration,
yes,
which are the first three visions. And once you reach that point, then you just want to keep going and going because you'll be enjoying it thoroughly. Okay, anyone else? Go ahead. Go ahead, Sage.
The last thing I want to just say is to everybody, remind them that it's not that easy at first. It gets easy and it gets so exhilarating. It may take years. I hate to say it, but it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. But the more you read, everybody's different. For me, it took, you know, before getting really understanding this and getting over some lumps, realizing this is it. This is the adventure. And then suddenly, and then the results show up. And then you realize you don't care about the hard work. It doesn't become hard anymore. It's like it's the integrations that you needed to learn so that you can create whatever you want to create. And that's the exhilarating point. That's what I wanted to start with, is looking at something and creating it. I wanted to envision something and make it happen. And it gets really exciting, but you got to stick with it, and you got to. There's so many tools out there that can help you along your way, and that Friday Night Essence is a huge the key, like you said, Bill, to becoming the person you were. It's the starting point. It's the key to becoming the person you were meant to be, is to focus on that and answer that very personal question of what do you really want to create.
Thank you. Did you have anything to add, Bob?
Yeah, I could add there myself as an example. As far as what I've done all of my life, I've been an electrician for most of my life. Electrician, maintenance supervisor, electrical maintenance supervisor, and in working for somebody else, the rewards haven't always been for me what I would like to have, but the satisfaction of doing the job that I did kept me going, because I totally enjoyed what I was doing, even though I was unhappy with the companies that I was working with or the groups that I was working with, because they weren't treating me the way they should, or the way I felt they should have, and I wasn't getting the financial rewards that I felt I should have gotten. I was able to keep going because I was happy at what I was doing. I totally enjoyed the work I was doing. I enjoyed working with the people that I was working with. And this gave me total satisfaction in everything I did every day. So even though I wasn't receiving the rewards in dollar values that I felt I should have gotten, I was receiving rewards and respect of my fellow employees and my peers that I was working with. And I totally enjoyed that.
Thank you, Bob. And I wanted to mention that I noticed that we have one viewer, and I wanted to thank you for joining us. If you see anything that allows you to chat, feel free to join us in the chat. I'm still learning how to use this interface, and it may not be set up properly. but if you can see it, feel free to write a question or make a comment. I've decided to suspend the Where's the Force game, and
Darn it.
invite viewer comment. So if you know, I would like you to let me know if you want me to continue that part of the program. Go ahead and send me an email at whunsiker@gmail.com, or just comment on the event, and I'll read those comments. And if you want us to continue the Where's the Force game, we will continue it in future episodes. So now we're going to move on to the next portion of the show. And basically, in this, it says the 12 Visions movement is a group of like-minded individuals with one goal: to create the 12 Visions world. This movement is being organized by the 12 Visions Party. Here is the purpose of the 12 Visions Party. The TVP has one purpose: to bring about an initiatory, force-free, protection-only, service-based government via the Prime Law Amendment and protection-only budget, forever ending the age-old, power-based government and its virulent, force-backed rule of man, forever depoliticizing America and eventually the entire world, thus setting free the geniuses of society, launching the wealth of mankind as described in the TVP platform. And today we will start to take a look at the TVP platform in detail. And this is where Mark explains the 12 Visions world and how the 12 Visions movement is going to bring it about, and why we need the 12 Visions world as opposed to the world we're living in now, which we call the anti-civilization. So I'm gonna start by reading a portion of the introduction and find a good stopping point, and then we're going to discuss that, and we're going to continue reading until we get close to the end of our hour, and then we'll pick up where we left off the next time. If we get close to an end of a section, we may break it off there and just discuss that until the end of our time. So I'll start with the introduction. Babies are born into a world ruled by illusions. We go from cradle to grave, taken in by and giving power to those illusions. Consider the illusion of money. Currency not backed by tangible values such as silver and gold, by definition means its value is an illusion. Yet, we go from cradle to grave, taken in by and giving power, buying power to that illusion. The problem with illusions is reality eventually asserts itself. As demonstrated throughout history, the longer the people support illusions, the more devastating the correction when reality sets in. Throughout history, when reality eventually asserts itself, unbacked currency collapses. Consider the illusion that government, beyond protection of its citizens, provides value. People go from cradle to grave, taken in by and giving power, ruling power, to that illusion. Throughout history, when reality eventually asserts itself, big government beyond protection of its citizens, collapses civilizations. Beyond its one valid purpose of protecting its citizens, government by definition does not create or produce values, but people are taken in by and give power to its well-orchestrated illusions. For instance, politicians provide well-orchestrated illusions that they bring values to society, but the one and only real value government brings to society is protection, as demonstrated inside this platform. Any so-called values beyond protection are illusions that will eventually collapse and bring civilization down. Okay, we're going to stop at that point and talk about that a little. To me, that's the essence of where we are now. We live in what we call an anti-civilization, which is basically a world of illusions that, we choose to believe and support. That, people in general, because we're taught from the time we can understand as children that this is the real world, that this is the world, this is reality, a world, where we have to do what we're told, where we have to pay taxes, and where you get a job, you work 9 to 5 and work for 40 years and retire, which doesn't even work anymore nowadays. And then you retire and live for about 10 or 20 years, and then you die. That's the world we live in now, and that's a world I do not like. I haven't liked it before I understood about the 12 visions world.
Me either. I own a company, and if we decide something that also came up, speaking about illusions, Bill, like you're saying, we're in a world of illusions, anti-civilization. I own a company, and if our company made decisions based on illusions, which we do sometimes because we're not careful, we end up footing the bill for that, and our company gets hurt from it. Whether it's what happens is we don't do our due diligence enough, and we buy into an illusion of giving away value, money, for a product or service that we think is going to help the business, and it doesn't. And then suddenly we're out that money. And that's when reality is asserting itself. And if we did that over time, our business is going to go out of business. And with the same thing happens with all of us, the whole society at large, I guess, so to speak. They all are participating in this government by paying. Everybody pays their taxes, or they fear going to jail and fear the repercussions of it. So by doing that, by paying the taxes, you're contributing to this illusion going on. And where reality is asserting itself is the fact that government's really draining society and not producing a benefit out to the consumer, the person who's giving the taxes. And if you do that over and over, you're just creating a constant washing machine cycle of being broke at large. Most people, the standard of living is very low, and that's what's going to continuously happen. And once people realize that illusion, they don't have to participate anymore. You do, because of that, of course, of the force that the government can exert at any time. The 12 Visions world and the 12 Visions party is the only thing that offers us a clean-cut solution to just saying, hey, you don't have to participate in that anymore if you don't want to. And that's where you're tapping into the reality of it, just like an astute business person would see. And if you do that, your business flourishes, like society will flourish. So it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, to me, I'm a self-leader, and I don't agree with what's happening. But basically, I do things such as pay income taxes and follow rules of establishing your business, which are expensive and difficult, and basically you have so many rules to follow. Basically, the first thing you have to do when you start a business is hire a lawyer that specializes in such things. And even then, they may not be up on the most recent changes to the rules. And but for me, I do all of these things under duress because of the threat of penalties and possibly jail time if I refuse to do these things.
And that's what's, it's hard to be happy, fully happy in that situation. And it's just an illusion. It's because the rules are there, you're following it, but they don't make exact sense to increasing your happiness, but yet you're bound to them. So that's what is an illusion. And I love this platform when you read it, Bill. It's just isolating or identifying that clear-cut, re real truth, so to speak, and from realizing that, just it's going to be amazing for people in society once this is common knowledge.
Yes, and that's why we're going to cover this platform in detail, because this basically is the this is the 12 Visions movement, this platform. This is the reason we're doing it, this is how we're going to do it, and this is what the result will be if we do it. Okay, Sage, do you want to pick up where I left off, which is
Sure.
The end of the beginning
Yes.
of the 4th paragraph?
I'd love to.
Yep, and read down to the short paragraph that ends in the early intro catastrophic era.
Okay. Okay, you got it. And thank you, Bill. Beyond its one valid purpose of protecting its citizens.
Nope, next paragraph.
The next paragraph. No
Yep.
problem. I'm sorry about that. The reason people follow and give power to illusions, such as our unbacked currency and such as our growing ruling class, is explained in my Neo-Think literature. That's Mark Hamilton's literature. In short, the reason we follow our leaders and their illusions reaches back to our primitive minds and thousands of years living in a following mode, following the imagined gods, god kings, the oracles, pharaohs, following leaders, as opposed to the modern mind's capacity to integrate reality and lead itself. My breakthrough Neo-Think discovery and my Neo-Think manuscripts, both Mark Hamilton's literature, teach you how to become the powerful, illusion-free self-leader. The self-leader easily integrates reality and sees through illusions, and charts his or her own course to a monetarily and emotionally rich life. Until you become the self-leader, you will follow and give power to illusions all your life. Unbacked currency has buying power. The politicization of society has ruling power. All that power and so-called value sit upon illusions, and the general populace lives from cradle to grave supporting those illusions. In the end, following illusions as opposed to integrating reality will lead to disaster. From currency devaluation to hyperinflation to the economic meltdown of our country, from shrinking freedom to growing rule of man, socialism, tyranny. Unfortunately, we see those consequences already starting to happen. We know we are in the early intro catastrophic era.
Thank you, Sage. Yeah, this is basically the problem. And also, feel free to substitute Mark Hamilton's for my, so there's no confusion, and that'll make it easier to read and it make the flow easier. And this is basically the idea. This is why at the beginning of the show I talked about being a self-leader, because basically what we need and what the 12 Visions world will be is a society of self-leaders, people who think, decide, and act for themselves. And I just want to address that right here, because the idea has been spread that if you're a self-leader, a free thinker, or that you're a dangerous person because you'll just do whatever you want no matter how it affects people around you. However, if you are a true self-leader who integrates reality, who is a conscious being, you see the value of the people around you. You see the value of the earth and how it supports conscious beings. And therefore, you don't want to go around destroying everything and hurting people because you see the value in them, the value to you. To me, and to everyone else in the Neo-Think Society, the conscious mind is the greatest value in the universe. And to me, everything that supports that is a great value that we want to keep and maintain.
Oh man, definitely. That I can't say it any better myself, Bill. I think that this identifies that, this whole platform, And I think that where we're going to go with this is I see a lot of people have seen this, not seen this exactly, but the libertarian movements out there and the founding fathers of this country were very focused on individual freedom. They realized the illusion of government and fought to change that situation. And the prime law and this whole platform identifies the real essence of what the founding fathers were fighting against, and just pinpoint it so that it really solving it from happening again, and having solving from tyranny and government and illusions from taking over reality, and backed by force. And once we do that, it's just going to be awesome.
Yep. Be everyone living the life they were meant to live, and enjoying exhilaration.
Yeah.
I can see where the ruling class would be fear, and be living in fear of what we're doing, because they know that when we have things happen and the 12 Visions Party does come into the presidential candidate and makes the changes that are required for us to make, that their lifestyles will change forever. They won't have the income, they won't have the power that they have today, and this is why I can see that they would be afraid of some of the things we're doing.
Yeah.
Bob, do you want to go ahead and pick it up with the...
I don't have that literature in front of me.
You don't have it in front of you? That's fine. I'll take it from there.
Thank
no problem. We'll continue here. It says, can we stop the looming catastrophic era? Yes, and the process sits inside this platform. Will we stop it? No. Our hardwired primitive mentality follows leaders and their illusions and will not stop until the illusions collapse as reality sets in. When those illusions collapse, we will then see the world as it is, and it will be too late. If you want to stop following illusions, read this platform. Check out the Neothink Society and Mark Hamilton's Neothink manuscripts. Mark Hamilton's Neothink manuscripts shift our minds into the modern Neothink mentality that integrates reality as opposed to following illusions, charts its own course to financial and emotional wealth as opposed to following and serving leaders. In short, you become the self-leader and live a financially and emotionally rich life. Mark Hamilton started the Neothink political movement, described on the following pages, to fundamentally change our government of illusions that the people fatally follow, to a government of values that brings the people the world's greatest protection service under the prime law, as you will see inside. Mark Hamilton founded the 12 Visions Party to catch our fall when reality sets in and the illusions come crashing down, making this new political party relevant to every American right now, today. Moreover, the new 12 Visions Party can turn everything around right now if enough people read this platform. After you read it, do not let this life-saving information stop with you. Pass this information on to someone else to read, and insist they do the same. That single action of passing it on can start a powerful revolution to save our future. With increasing failure of America's currency, government, and economy, the people will begin to, one by one, break from the illusions and for the first time discover the 12 Visions Party, America's safety net. That is basically the essence of what we're trying to do. I mean, the world is otherwise the world is going to be destroyed one way or another. Either what our government is doing is going to continue to anger people across the world, and eventually it's going to end in possibly nuclear war. I mean, look who we're pissing off right now. Our government is pissing off right now. I got to break that habit. We all have to. It's not you and me. It's the decisions by our leaders that are causing these things, not you and I. Look, they're basically fighting the Soviet Union, who are the other major power that has nuclear weapons, and it could end in a horrible catastrophe. But we have the possibility of changing that with what we're trying to do now.
Yeah, we have all the power because they are to protect and serve. That is really their fundamental, their only real. The only way they get power is through us. They get all that money and finances and backing because we allow it to continue. And I think through becoming a self-leader and starting to think for yourself, like we've been talking, is new to most people. But as you see the $1 trillion of debt in America stacking up, what other options are out there that are really going to change that much of that in debt? That's just a tip of the iceberg. People look at that $1 trillion of debt as a sign because it's very obvious, it's very clear. But I think that all these illusions, if you, what else are we going to really do to solve this? I think any solution has to stop the drainage that's happening, the expenditures of the expenditures of too much going out and not enough coming in, and going into the wealth of each individual in the country. And that's what we're already starting to feel the effects of. It's going to increase if it's not stopped, that just like it has been going on. And what other organizations besides something that, whatever organization is out there, I fully support, besides the TVP, that identifies what the prime law and what this platform identifies with stopping the government from any government that's promoting something else than its one valid purpose of defense only, protection of the individual. And so I guess what I really wanted to say, Bill, in addition to what you were talking about, was that all of us, though, to become the self-leader is new in some respects. It's weird at first, and it takes being conscious. And he mentions breaking out of our hardwired bicameral way of thinking, our prehistoric way of thinking, pretty much, where you're following a leader. And once you get used to it and develop those skills, you find it very natural, as I have, and Bill and Bob has, and many others who've read the NeoThink information. Mm-hmm. It's you're designed for this. You're just not raised doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's like a fish in water once you get going.
Yeah, Darren, what you said, Sage, is the reason why people from other countries and other organizations that we're fighting want to attack all of us as citizens of the country, because we are standing by instead of doing something about it. We are standing back and allowing our leaders to do what they're doing.
Yeah,
and we're not doing anything to stop it. And I think we as a people would be wise to wake up and realize that we have to make the changes. Our leaders aren't going to make the changes. They're doing what's going to benefit them. If we want to have peaceful lives and live with the people of the world in peace and harmony, then we have to make the changes. We have to get out there and do what it takes to take these leaders out of position and set our government on the right path.
Right.
Okay, Sage, you want to pick up where I left off and
Yes.
read through to the end of the introduction, which is a couple paragraphs more than what we're...
You got it.
But it's less than a page more, so go right ahead.
Is this where we start off to enter that never-before-known dimension?
Nope, the paragraph before that, because I ended with America's safety net.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Yes.
Okay, everyone. The 12 Visions Party takes us into a new dimension never experienced on Earth, the dimension in which initiatory force is prohibited in the ruling body, bound by the prime law, described within this platform. Therefore, for the first time, the destructive rule of man cannot exist. Indeed, the rule of man requires initiatory force to exist, and politicians and regulatory bureaucrats must weave well-orchestrated illusions to downplay and disguise their growing rule by force. Without initiatory force, with a prime law that banishes initiatory force in our government, we will for the first time live in pure freedom without politicians and bureaucrats rule by force and without their illusions. We will enjoy a prosperity never known before, as demonstrated within this platform. To enter that never-before-known dimension requires never-before-seen fundamental building blocks, the fundamental documents and prime literature upon which the new dimension is built. Those building blocks to a never-before-known world of pure freedom and extraordinary prosperity and peace, those documents that will end initiatory force and its illusions, will not look like anything seen before in this world. The prime law, the TVP platform, the TVP bylaws, the Neothink prime literature, the building blocks from which rises the new world free from insidious rule of man and his illusions, will look very different than other laws, platforms, bylaws, and literature. Ending the destructive rule of man, the disease of civilization, ends our leaders' control, power, and wealth at our expense. Man's inherent dark desires and egos no longer have power in the new TVP government, lifting us to a prosperous new world. The 12 Visions Party with its prime law is a worldwide movement to bring civilizations around the world into the new dimension free of initiatory force and its virulent rule of man. Internally, throughout the TVP, perspectives on national boundaries, national affiliation, even national jealousies and prejudices, unhealthy envy and egos must step aside among the visionaries bringing the new world to civilizations everywhere. The sole focus of visionaries everywhere must be on one thing only, on effectively eradicating initiatory force and its insidious rule of man, as presented within this platform. This political movement is for all peoples of all countries. The 12 Visions Party will end the ruling class and unite the non-ruling class everywhere. The 12 Visions Party rises from over 30 years of developing the Neothink prime literature. The TVP platform is timeless Neothink prime literature written and distilled over many years. The prime literature platform does not look like any other political platform. It is the fundamental document for taking civilization out of its only dimension ever known on Earth and bringing civilization into a new dimension never known on Earth. That dimension is a world free of initiatory force, free from the insidious rule of man. To best present that world, Mark Hamilton spent several years developing the prime literature platform within the civilization Mark Hamilton knows. As an American, Mark Hamilton used his home country to build his New World prime literature platform around the United States platform. But the country used as the flagship example of civilization's new dimension is not significant. The significant point is this: fundamental building block. This prime literature document frees civilization from initiatory force and its virulent rule of man. In fact, as specified in the TVP bylaws, the TVP platform for all countries beyond the flagship United States will use the same prime literature platform, while making geographically and political structure adjustments for their own countries. In short, this prime literature platform takes civilization beyond the traditional initiatory force-backed ruling class civilization into the new dimension, initiatory force-free, non-ruling class civilization. This TVP platform, to be tailored to all countries, is the distilled new dimension document, the prime literature. It is the fundamental document to disarm leaders of their age-old weapons against the people, initiatory force, and to end their ruling classes everywhere. The TVP transcends borders, races, religions, and natural resources. The author's name, Mark Hamilton, is a registered trademark and a brand. The brand is a world free of initiatory force. So as you will see inside the prefix Hamilton attached to a country, in example, Hamilton, America, indicates that country as it would be in the new dimension of no initiatory force and its rule of man. The job of the platform in this worldwide movement is to cure civilization, each and every civilization, of its disease, the rule of man. That is the single collective goal of the universal TVP movement.
Thank you, Sage.
Sure.
To me, that is why we're here, and that is this platform shows, you know, what the 12 Visions movement is and how it's going to achieve its goal of creating the 12 Visions world by depoliticizing America and the rest of the world, and creating a world of self-leaders who are living, you know, who have become the person they were meant to be and are living the life they were meant to live, and feeling the exhilaration every day of pursuing their deepest motivational route.
And the initiatory force, it's the only document and only organization that identifies by removing that initiatory force from the ruling governments, people and their self-leadership will flourish. People can only take self-leadership so far when somebody with a gun can force you at the threat of your own life to stop creating the values or living the life you were meant to live specifically. And it's going to be, you know, again, going back to just this 12 Visions world, the show's called To Create a New World.
Mm-hmm.
The world this document and this movement is creating is just, it's almost ineffable. It's hard to describe. But the prosperity and the stimulations that arise when free people are left free to create as they would, of course, with the protection-only government there to protect individuals. If any individual is overstepping their bounds, you're talking about a world that's just amazing. And we're building, guys.
And when we have a government that's providing us the value of protection, we'll want that protection, and we'll be willing to pay for it voluntarily, rather than having to be forced to pay for what the government provides to us, whether we want it or not, through taxation.
That's so cool.
Yes, and the government will eventually become another business providing protection services, which you will be free to say, I don't want to work with this business. I'd rather work with another business providing better protection services. And that's what I look forward to in the future. Not because when you have a monopoly on something, you get the lowest quality product or service at the highest price. When you have a free market and competition, you get the best product, the product that you want, at the price that you want.
It's like your cell phone, Bill, and I'd love to have that same thing. If I'm tired of my service, I have Sprint right now. I'd love to switch to AT&T, you know, and get that better service. I hear AT&T's great. I do like Sprint, but I can leave at any time. And if the defense, I have to pay my taxes no matter what the whatever the government's doing, how they're doing it, where it's going to, where they choose to spend it, and this changes all that. So it's gonna the dollar value is gonna go much more into a place, a well-deserved place, and go to where I choose it goes to.
Yeah, I agree. One of the biggest problems we have with the society and the government we have is that you can't opt out. You can't say, no, I'd rather go to something different, because even if you leave the United States and go to another country, there's another government that's very similar, may be different in detail. Some things may be better, and other things may be worse, but you still have initiatory force, and you still have people saying you must do this or else.
Right. And that's no matter where you go at this point.
Yeah, at this point, right. Unless you're on the moon or on Saturn, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They have.
I wonder how it works if you have your own private island. Country.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. let's see. I want to thank the person that tuned in briefly, and want to thank everyone who sees the recording of this program for tuning in and listening to us for a while. And I would also like to thank Sage Katakura for joining us and providing his perspective and integrations on the topics we discussed. Thank you, Sage.
Thank you, Bill. It's a pleasure, honestly. Hearing your integrations too, it's a great value.
And I would also like to thank Bob McCaffrey for joining us and providing his insight and perspective and integrations. Thank you, Bob.
And I'd also like to wish everyone a healthy, happy, and prosperous New Year.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. If you have any questions about the show or about the topics we discussed, you can contact me at whunsiker@gmail.com or comment on the event page for this episode. You can also support the show by telling your family and friends about it. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, you can go to createanewworld.blogspot.com and see them there. And I'll repeat that one more time. To create a new world at .blogspot.com. And also now, if you wish to directly support the show and help us continue to produce it, you can go to patreon.com/creating a new world, and you can support us with as little as $2 an episode if you wish. However, the show will always be free to view either live or recorded. And I wish everyone wealth, health, peace, love, and freedom.